Hi, I'm Dhruv Futnani. I'm a project manager at Spectral Services and a green building consultant. I've worked in the green building industry for about 5 years now, for 3 years in the United States and 2 years in India. Glass is a modern building material, and you find more and more buildings with glass facades. And in green buildings, we focus on the intelligent use of glass, the use of glass so that you can actually impact the energy consumption and save energy in the building. So one of the things that we focus on in green buildings is not as much as the amount of glass you use, but the proper use of glass. So if you're talking about using glass in a building, we focus on keeping the glass towards the north and the south, and if we are providing any glass on the east and the west, we need to protect it either with shading or use a high performance glass or any of those type of things, so that the glass doesn't allow in too much heat. You'll find that the glass manufacturers have made a lot of progress in terms of improving the qualities of the glass, and you'll find those are the U value, the solar heat gain coefficient, and the VLT. And again, when you go into the design, it's all about balance, because obviously the higher the U value and the higher the shading coefficient, the less amount of visual light comes into the building. So it's still a lot of balancing which needs to be done, and for this there are various types of computer simulation which are available, where you can actually simulate the building before it's actually built, and you can modify the design, you can optimize the design, and then finally select the type of glass which works best. So if you have a lot of glass in a building, you would obviously use a glass with a higher shading coefficient and maybe a lower visual light transmittance. And if the building has very little glass, then you would almost use a more clear kind of glass to bring in as much daylight as possible. Actually, that is one of the confusing parts about the LEED rating system, where a lot of people say it's 100% recyclable, but in the LEED rating system they talk about recycled content, and that's something that people get confused about. But absolutely, glass is definitely a green building material and it can be recycled. Recycled content actually talks about the recycled material in the glass, and on an average you'd find glass has a recycled content of 15 to 18%. No type of glass is actually 100% recycled. It can be recycled, which is a different issue altogether. You have different types of glass in terms of glass with a lower reflectivity, and that is something which is used on the exterior of the building, so buildings don't have a mirror effect. And there are a lot of types of glass available, and depending on the building type, depending on the requirements of the space, depending on the orientation, there are a lot of glasses which can be used. It's just a question of using the right glass at the right place. In fact, the process of selecting glass is quite complicated, and that's why you find a lot of green building consultants who do lighting simulation, and that is one of the easiest ways to help select the best glass for your building. And in fact, there are some buildings we've done where the 4 different orientations have different types of glass, because it's not necessary to have a very high performance glass on the north and the south, and the client can actually save money by investing a little more in terms of the east and the west. And it has a lot to do with optimization, and when you go to a glass manufacturer, usually you have hundreds of types of glass, and it's pretty difficult to select the right one. ECBC is actually a very, very useful code when we talk about building design, because they give you certain guidelines which you can follow, and it helps you to design better buildings. So in terms of the wall window ratio, or the minimum specifications of the glass, or a lot of different things in terms of the glazing properties, they give you a lot of options or basic guidelines which you can follow, and if the option is available, you exceed those minimum performance standards.